Hello. It's lovely to be here with everyone. This is the future of co-investing JVs and partnership panels. And as I told everyone before we went on, they saved the best for last. So really honored to be here with these gentlemen. Let's go around and let's allow each one of you guys to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you're currently working on. Go ahead first, Andy?
Yeah, I'll be the first. So I'm from Israel. I'm with a family office called the Shenihav family office. What we do is we grow technology companies, and we're trying to do that in a very unique way. In fact, we started as a company that was distributing technologies to many, many customers. We have thousands of customers all over the country. Could be small, medium, or large customers. And with the years, we started to think about how do we invest in technologies or in technology companies that actually we can see exactly to which customer that product could fit, or to a group of customers. So we only invest in companies that are already having a product, they already have sales, and we know how to grow their sales. And because technology companies are valued according to the sales, not according to their EBITDA, then we increase their value very quickly. Now, in addition to that, in order to actually fulfill that goal of increasing the sales, we go to the customer side, and in the customer side, we established a debt fund, and the debt fund will finance leasing deals instead of buying the technology at once, which many companies, many customers cannot do that. So we will help them with a leasing deal. So basically, we are helping to sponsor or finance the purchase of the technology of the companies that we invested in the first time and increase their valuation. So this is kind of what we do, and our spaces are anything that is about efficiency. So efficiency for health, efficiency for construction, efficiency for real estate, efficiency for food tech, so anything about that, it's our domain.
Hello, Rick Courtney. I'm CEO of Essential Realty Partners. Essential is a Dallas-based private equity real estate firm that specializes in multifamily and also build to rent. We were founded about 24 months ago by a grizzled team of multifamily, kind of been there, done that, veterans and executives in anticipation of the market correction that we're currently in the midst of right now. And during the 24 months since we've been formed, and while we're waiting for the market to present us with an attractive entry point, we've been preparing and putting in place the pieces that we think we need to be successful. Of course, part of that is fundraising, so we're amassing dry powder. But perhaps more importantly than the dry powder is to make sure that we have the platform to support the type of scale that we're actually targeting here. And like I said, our team has kind of been there, done that. We've lived through these cycles before, and we know that the people that are most successful during these cycles are the ones that are able to move very quickly, faster than the competition. They can source the best properties in the best markets, much faster than anybody else. And so when we were solving for a platform that would allow us to do that as a competitive advantage, and scale again so that we could onboard, $10 to $15 billion of AUM in a relatively short window of opportunity, AI, automation, predictive analytics came to the top. So we made a significant investment in that to support the scale that we're talking about. So anyway, that's Essential right now. We're like a lot of players out there. We're sitting in a lot of dry powder, waiting for the right time to deploy.
Good afternoon. My name is Karl Francetic. I'm with a company we have in Orlando, Florida called Realty Investor Capital. We are a real estate private equity firm with two core platforms. We serve high net worth investors and family offices from around the world. We have 3 billionaire families that invest with us. We have 3 family offices from out of the country, 1 in Asia, 2 in the Middle East. And then we have several family offices here in the U.S. We have about 300 individual investors with net worths between $3 million and $500 million, plus a network of professional athletes, about 100 professional athletes. In fact, 4 of our guys were in the Super Bowl this year, 2 on each side. We serve as fiduciaries for these investors and put them in comparatively very low-risk real estate investments, and we offer above-market risk-adjusted returns. We're known for our underwriting, our due diligence, our legal. Our core team comes from very institutional backgrounds. As an example, I was chief underwriter for a major real estate finance program for Merrill Lynch, ran the private equity group for a super regional bank for a number of years for the Southeast U.S., and then was director of developer finance for one of the largest REITs in America. The other principals in our firm all have very similar backgrounds to that, which is why our investors invest with us. As an example, 5 of our investors have each lost over $5 million in bad real estate deals in the last 6 years. Thank God none of them were ours. We have a very, very impeccable legacy for delivering the returns that we do on the investments we do. We focus on 2 core platforms. One is a very short-term, basically an 8 to 18-month investment, funding the development of single-tenant net lease properties across the country. By the way, our team has done deals in 49 of the 50 states. I've done deals in, I think, 36 states. But we fund the development of Starbucks, 7-Elevens, Chick-fil-A's, all of these kinds of assets, which are very, very, very low risk. We have a signed lease at closing. We have all entitlements and permits in hand. So it's a very de-risked deal for our investors. We're paying them typically a 10 to 12% return on their money, and they like the ability to earn that kind of coupon for basically a 12-month investment. Most of them tell us they do not know where they can invest and get that kind of return with the security that we offer. The second core platform that we have is funding workforce housing apartment properties. We're the equity in 49 workforce housing properties in the last 3 years. We'll probably put out somewhere between 75 and 125 million in workforce housing this year. So we're always looking for really good projects. We're always looking to work with really good developers and sponsors. The challenging part is we probably turn down 98% of the opportunities we see because most of the developers that come to us, we find could understand their markets better than they do. When we get in and we underwrite the real metrics behind the deal, we find it challenging to invest in good opportunities, but we're very active. We're closing 2 deals tomorrow. We're closing 3 deals next week. We're going to close 2 deals the week after that. So that's who we are and what we do. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Caitlin.
Is it good evening now?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Danny Aguirre, originally from Miami. I'm an entrepreneur. I operate multiple investments. As part of our investments is Blue Waters Development Group. Based out of Florida, we own and control a few hundred acres throughout the state of Florida. As of effective 3 weeks ago, we just closed on our latest acquisition and added 130 acres to the portfolio. In our uses, we have life sciences, hospitality, medical, housing, and outdoor storage.
Thank you all. Danny and Indy, I'm going to direct this first question at you both. With your experience investing in both technology companies as well as properties, how do you see the geopolitical climate with the U.S. elections looming in November? And how will this impact domestic and foreign investment in the U.S.?
Please.
So as an Israeli, if I have to comment on American elections, I'm going to get into trouble. I worked for government for many years, so I know the pitfalls. And actually, I was seeing people walking out. It reminded me once I was talking somewhere, and I saw somebody leaving, and I said, "Hey, excuse me, sir, why are you leaving? Am I talking too long?" He said, "No, I'm just going to take a haircut." And I said, "Why are you taking a haircut now? Why didn't you take one before I started speaking?" He said, "Because I didn't need one before you started speaking." So I would say this. When it comes to American elections, of course, we follow it very carefully in Israel. There's a story about our prime minister many years ago in the 50s somebody came, like one of his assistants came to him and said, you know, Prime Minister, we have a terrible news. He said, what happened? He said, there's a drought. He said, where? He says, in the south of Israel. He said, oh, I thought it was in Texas. So we're dependent. We like America. Our relationship with the U.S. are very, very tight, of course. And when it rains here, we get wet over there. So I don't want to comment on how the elections are going to change things here, because that's a sensitive. But I would tell you this, because I'm not a voter here. Whatever makes this country more successful and prosperous, it's good for us. It's good for us because the more respect this country has in our tough environment, in our tough neighborhood, it's better for us. And we cannot move forward if it's with peace or with anything else without you being very successful, respected. And therefore, you make the choice what that would be, and we'll enjoy your choices. So as far as real estate and investments, there's a lot of money in Israel. There's a lot of money in Israel, especially in the pension funds, in the insurance companies, etc. They're looking to deploy overseas. They're looking at the U.S. And you know, we had Karl and I, and a few other friends. We had dinner 2 days ago. We went just for Italian food. We came out with a work plan. And it involved some of the institutionals from Israel. So I don't think the elections are seen in Israel as something that will affect our investments in the U.S., but we do see it as something that will affect our situation back home.
When we talk about politics, it's something that everybody in the room has an opinion on. And it's kind of interesting and funny to think that we have two candidates with a total age of 160 plus years old, which kind of sets us up for the future. Think of the future. The next election cycle, we're going to have new blood, fresh blood, younger candidates that are coming to the table. So we have great hope in our future. Now, when we think of how the politics in this country are affecting real estate, we can see in approximate numbers for 2023, we had approximately $400 billion in sales across all sectors. We had huge migration patterns within the country. And these migration patterns kind of resulted to almost 60% of the migration happening going to Florida and to Texas. We heard a little bit ago to the tune in the state of Florida of over 1,000 people per day. And what that does is it starts creating these situations where infrastructure is at a cap. And you have housing issues. And then you have the commercial issues on the other side. Because what happens is with the residential growth, we now have to provide the commercial services to be able to provide adequate services. And then think about what is causing the migration to these states, specifically in the state of Florida. Winter for a long period of time kind of stinks. 6, 7, and 8 months of winter is kind of tough on the body. When you think about taxes also maybe not friendly. And then lifestyle. People are actually moving to these states and relocating their families and their future generations because of the lifestyle they can afford there.
Thank you both. Karl and Rick, you guys are up next. With institutional investors decreasing their investment in real estate, how have family offices gained prominence as alternative asset sources for many real estate organizations?
Go first. First off, it's not only the institutions that are pausing and pulling back and on hold. The regular retail accredited investor makes up about 60% of the available investment environment out there. They are also pulling back. Two of our founding partners are attorneys, and so they operate in those circles. And in our part of the world, we're being inundated with anecdotal evidence that says the retail investors receiving capital calls and things of that nature. So we think the retail investor is going to pull back and maybe be a little bit jaded for the next 24 months or so. So getting back to your question about, how is that going to benefit family offices? This is a space that we're, as you know, intimately involved in. We JV with family offices as capital partners. And if there's a word that I could use, I would say options. They have options with the institutions pulling back and with the retail accredited investor pulling back. That means a lot of the newer syndicators that have only done capital formation through online marketing, things of that nature, will no longer be present. And I guess for family offices, those that have the internal platform and the expertise in-house, I think we're seeing some of those now actually assume the role of being a GP and a sponsor. We've seen this in private equity and especially rescue capital. And again, the caveat there is that these are multi-billion-dollar FOs or MFOs, and they are they have that internal platform to and expertise to execute on that. Some of the rescue capital, we're a little bit cautious about it, but it is an area that they are expanding into. Now, for the smaller family offices, they're going to have better access to GP economics. That's the overriding theme that we're seeing, and it's maybe not a dirty secret, but a GP normally makes about 3 times what an LP makes. So if an LP is making 15% annually, the GP is probably pulling in 45%. Well, the institutions and some of the other retail investors won't get into the wonkiness of it. A lot of people call me Mr. Potato Head sometimes when I get involved in these stats and structures and things of that nature. With those being absent and being on pause right now, family offices have a chance to get into the GP economics, where a GP gets 3 income streams and an LP gets 1, their investment returns. The smaller family offices now can get enhanced returns. And the other thing that I would say is that you're going to have people, some of the gray hairs, like me, for example. You're gonna have us guys. We're coming back into the market, right? So we exited the last 4. Our junior partner exited the last 4,000 units over 2018 to 2019, and he found the market was moving from being investable to speculative, and I won't go into the details on that. But a lot of the gray hairs have kind of been on the sidelines a little bit, and so for the family offices, 2 things: they got some incredibly experienced sponsor partners that are available to them that maybe weren't when the market was so frothy, and also they're going to have some, I think, enticing GP economic opportunities out there.
This is a great question because we're seeing it impact our business, and we're seeing it impact the real estate deals that are closing on a number of fronts. Take institutional lenders, bankers. They have so cut back on the leverage that they've offered. 2 years ago, the developer of a single-tenant net lease property, a Chick-fil-A, he could get 85 to 90% of cost financing. That's been scaled back to 60%. Some developers are only getting 50%. One of our billionaire partners has a fund that they guarantee investments. It's the most powerful fund I've seen financially guaranteeing loans on apartments, and they're seeing loans in the 52 to 57% of cost range. What that's done is it's created opportunities for family offices and high net worth investors to pick up that space and get very attractive returns on very low risk real estate investments. One of the platforms, I had mentioned that we've done all of these workforce housing projects. Those are really evergreen investments where if somebody invests in it, they'll get a full return of capital within 3 to 5 years, typically 3 to 4 years. They'll get an 8 pref that's accrued and compounded, and then they'll own their interest into perpetuity. They'll get distributions for literally years and years to come. So we've seen family offices. One of our billionaire families is out of Miami. They put $13.5 million into one of these investments because they love the fact that from a legacy perspective, they can transition their wealth to their kids, create income streams into the future for their kids, get all of their capital back within 3 to 4 years, and then redeploy it at market rates at that time. If you look at equity investors, institutional equity investors, we're seeing them pull back because they're trying to manage their portfolios right now. We're seeing it with life companies, pension funds, all types of very large real estate private equity firms. And so that's created an opportunity, again, for family offices to pick up great investments in that space by finding the right sponsors, the right people that can guide them to those investments.
Thank you. In the spirit of the title of the event, The Future of Real Estate, and since you all have different experience, in some ways similar, of investing as well as building, and what do you see as the latest technologies changing real estate building and investment in the foreseeable future?
Okay, I'll go first. When I was 26 years old, I visited the United States for the first time, and I remember I landed in New York and I looked at the buildings and I thought, oh, the guy who invented the elevator might have made a fortune. And he turned basically streets into buildings. So he disrupted the whole way we live and the whole way construction and real estate is done. So we live in the era of disruption, ongoing disruption, and it just speeds up all the time. It goes up exponentially. So in our family office, we looked at that, and we looked at what would be the biggest economy that is related to that, and we believe it's related to energy. So one thing we did is we tried to kind of hack and understand how we can bring efficiencies into that, and also look at the trends where the world is going. And the world is going to a place where the power plants cannot supply all the power that buildings need. If you want to charge your Teslas and you have 20 tenants that are trying to charge your Teslas, the building is not going to be able to supply that from the cables that are leading to the building coming from the power plant. So they have to generate their own electricity. So this is why we focused a lot, and we looked for technologies in Israel where we can generate energy. So of course solar, that's obvious, but also micro turbines that can be very, very effective. And then we can produce the needed energy for, could be a commercial real estate or a factory or a hotel or whatever it is. But then there are peak hours and there's the daytime when there's more need for that, but then at night everybody sleeps, so they kind of turn it off. But then we said, okay, we will rent it from you. We'll come as renters now, and we'll rent that. Keep it going. We'll rent the turbine from you. We'll generate electricity, and then we'll bring another technology, which is storage, energy storage for real estate, and then we'll store that energy, and then we'll at peak hours we'll now sell it to somebody who's 300 miles away, who's also a customer of ours because he bought another system from us, which is a cogeneration of electricity. So air conditioning, of course, takes a lot of electricity, but it also releases a lot of heat into the atmosphere. So now we can take that heat and boil the water with it. So you don't have separate systems, one to boil the water and one to heat to cool the building. So what we're doing, we're building a whole ecosystem based on different companies or startups that are creating innovation. And through that, we're creating efficiencies. And we believe that that's the future. Localization, personalization, customization. People will create their own energy. We're going to have many small power plants in the form of new technologies attached to small developments, properties, factories, hotels, whatever it is, hospitals. Every normal city in the world, about 8 to 10% of their energy actually is used in hospitals and in medical facilities. So if we can only add just a little bit of efficiencies to hospitals and medical facilities, we're going to reduce the footprint of a city in big numbers. So we're looking into all of that. And maybe a last comment that I have is that in Israel a few years ago, I was part of a call it the National Drone Initiative. So Israel is leading in that area, and the idea is to not just, okay, develop drones, of course, everybody can do that, but it's how to create an autonomous system that controls all the thousands and thousands of drones that are going to fly above our heads and deliver things from one place to the other. And one thing that was discussed over that is how this is going to change. I mean, like the elevator, which I started with, the fact that now drones are going to deliver everything to everybody, how is it going to change the architecture of high-rises? For example, everybody's going to want a balcony, or you're going to have places where they can land. And the bigger they are, you need bigger spaces where they can land. And these are things that when you talk to developers today in Israel, they already started to think, am I going to need to put a landing pad for drones in the future? Because all the packages, all the groceries, everything is going to come with drones, because now there's going to be an autonomous system that's going to deliver everything from everywhere to everywhere. So if we take, last comment, if we take all the solutions that we have today in energy, everything in alternative energies, and we implement all of that everywhere, still we're missing about 30%. That 30% is going to be the next disruption. We don't know where it is, we don't know who's going to develop it, but we know that we have to follow and watch what's that going to be, because there are going to be a lot of opportunities there, and especially, of course, for people who, for developers and real estate business. So let's keep an eye on what's coming up next. Thank you.
Your question reverberated a little bit, but is about how are we using technology? Okay.
Or how do you see technology changing?
Oh, changing. Well, I'm not a tech guy. I'm a user guy, but anyway, I can tell you how we're using technology, and we're using it really tactically right now, not strategically. But as I mentioned earlier, we're solving we're trying, our metric is we want to be 5 times faster than the competitors. And when you have these windows of opportunity opening up, for example, we think we have a once-in-a-generation buying opportunity that comes around roughly every 17 years that's about to emerge. During those periods that you want to back up the truck, so to speak, and take advantage of them, you have to move fast. That's what, living through these cycles in the past has taught us. And so we are using the technology at a tactical level to help us with the sourcing and the acquisition. We have predictive analytics. We can plug in up to 250 different variables. They could be econometrics, demographics, property characteristics, operating characteristics, and we literally push a button, and that will populate a pipeline of properties and submarkets that we're interested in that we can go directly to the owner to source. And so that cuts out the marketing period. Now, roughly half of them will still go through the marketing period. But, that's one of the ways that we're using it to get the first looks on the best deals. The other thing is that once we get that pipeline, underwriting, literally we push a button and we can underwrite any property in the country in about 10 minutes with a 35-tab spreadsheet that has 7 comp sets in it, including live operating comps that are provided anonymously by online property management companies. So the level of granularity that the technology provides at the tactical level is just super time saving. Like I said, our objective is to move 5 times faster than the competitors out in the marketplace. And instead of having analysts that used to do this, 3 analysts to do the market analysis and things, the AI does that for us. I'm sure that that's our initial, foray into predictive analytics and the AI with the underwriting. I'm sure that we're going to use it more strategically, especially with machine learning as it evolves, so that it can help us make decisions about forecasting market cycles, recessions, and things of that nature to time, buy and sell decisions also.
I'm a little embarrassed after hearing that. That's amazing. That's fantastic. I love it. We are not that sophisticated. In the analysis that we do, we're basically using Excel spreadsheets. Now, we had a very interesting conversation in our office the other day talking about how AI is going to transform new development, how it's going to handle getting entitlements and permits, how zoning is going to be handled for a developer who's looking at a site. Now, I've shared with you what our company is doing or isn't doing, but what we're seeing that's really fascinating is some of our developers are using it brilliantly. One of our apartment developers, their tenants rent online from them. The tenant can see the unit online exactly, even for the new buildings that they have coming up, and they can pick their colors for the unit that they want. There's all the smart home features that are going into them. And this particular developer, their track record of leasing units is the best I've ever seen. And their tenant retention is the best we've ever seen. You can even, through AI, see what the view is out the window in any of the apartments that they have in one of their complexes. Some of the developers that we work with, they're coming into your point of having those data sets of here's what expenses are really running. Some use that very effectively, some rely on it. In Florida, we have a huge challenge. Property insurance rates have gone up 300%. Whereas you used to underwrite insurance for an apartment at $350 to $450 a unit a year. Now it's $1,300 to $2,000 a unit a year. That has such a huge impact on your NOI that getting real data like that's very valuable. One of our developers, we built a self-storage facility. We were the equity behind a self-storage facility in the Washington, D.C. metro area. That developer accesses with using AI the credit card payments that are made by the people that rent in the facilities, so they were able to predict exactly what the occupancies were for competing properties. They knew what the rental rates actually were. Instead of going and just looking online and trying to estimate what rental rates were, they were able to get them. There's an apartment developer in North Florida. They go and they use AI to go and access the public utility through a Freedom of Information Act filing. So they get the utility bills for all of the apartment complexes in the Jacksonville metro area. They know exactly what the occupancies are based on the utility usage in those properties. So we're seeing developers use it brilliantly well. So,
Caitlin, have you heard of the phrase, cash is king? That is not the case. Data and information is king, because with good, viable data and information, an investor will place their cash in an investment that'll have mitigated risk. When we think of AI and technology, it's vital that we as the entrepreneurs evolve with the technology and utilize that technology, because we heard it earlier on today, it's not there to take away our jobs, it's there to enhance our labor force. And we've created a whole economic development department around collecting data, analyzing data, but then utilizing that data for something. And that department is vital. Will we ever have replacement of people through AI? No, because we still need people. So much so that our economic development team helped us secure a grant from the state of Florida a few months ago for $4.2 million that allowed us to build infrastructure public right-of-way. So we still need that human interaction. But when we analyze the data, we look at education, we look at labor force, we look at medical service needs, veteran service needs, demographic profiles, and really try to analyze and study and understand the gaps that exist in the service, in the markets. When we understand the gaps, as investors, we can then position our portfolio in a strategic manner. So we have all the AI, we have all the data, but we still need a goal. And our goal is capital appreciation, path of progress, exceptional zoning, cash flow, and drivers. And what I mean by drivers is a lot of our properties are across the street from hospitals. A hospital, whether we have a property there or not, is a driver. They're going to generate the general public coming to see them and visit them. A military base is a driver. So when we go out and look at these markets, we look for those drivers and then try to position our assets close to those drivers.
Okay. Thank you all. This was great. I've learned a lot, and I hope everyone else has too.
Thank you.